Alright, back at you guys with another episode. The wait has been so long. Plus, I just been hella lazy. But let's get into it. Got a couple stories that I need to go over that I didn't get a chance to. Scalebound Platinum Games trying to be bought out by Xbox. Hey, I don't know why you would even want to do this. Xbox, I mean, because Scalebound, you haven't really dropped anything that wanted to be that you haven't actually dropped a game that people wanted. Now, if they were wasting Xbox's time, yo, get them out of here. But I do believe the game itself is actually worth playing. Now, it looked great, but what they probably should have was already a vertical slice of the best parts. They spent too much time trying to figure out what the game's gonna be. A lot of that. But an open, quote unquote, open world action adventure game that could have changed up Xbox whole Halo, Gears, and Forza. That could have been a nice thing that could have been added to the plate of Xbox. Now they did buy a bunch of studios and stuff like that, so they do have some of those games already there, some of those game types already there. But Scalebound was unique enough that I'm like, yo, this might be a get. Plus, if they're gonna put it in Game Pass or Game Pass PC, I would love it because I don't plan on buying an Xbox, so that would help me in general. But back to Scalebound. Scalebound looked good enough that they should do something with the IP. There's enough there, and what they showed, either mimic it with a new studio, or give it to something, or give it to somebody else who can actually fulfill the game. Story-wise, I don't really know what the story is, but it looked good enough. And we need more of these type of games out. No, not like a real. I would say it's like a hack and slash, but I feel like a Dragon's Dogma type game. Not like less Devil May Cry, but more Dragon's Dogma. I fucking love Dragon's Dogma. I actually bought it on. I bought it multiple times. I think I have it for PC also. Definitely a game that people should give a shot. The story might go over people's heads, but it is a good game. And Scalebound could have been a game changer for the regular releases that we see. Also, since Microsoft is not really going to relinquish those games that are supposed to be coming onto PlayStation, this would have gave them a little bit of an edge until they actually make things exclusively on Xbox. Right now, they gotta recoup all that money that they spent on these companies. So, by any means necessary, we gotta actually see if Elder Scrolls can actually do something good with what they're doing. A lot of people didn't like Fallout 76, and they gotta fix it. They gotta fix something. There's a disconnect there between them and the players. It was a lot of pay to win, or just pay to have fun, basically. Because things they gave you for free in previous games, they were charging you. So it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit different. But when Xbox, I think I'm looking in the future, Xbox is not really gonna hit its stride until like the next, let's say, the next 5 years. Because you got to be honest, like, the games that they're planning on dropping, because Elder Scrolls doesn't drop, it's not a yearly drop. So there's time in that. Or I wouldn't say it's a yearly drop. But they're basically running the same engine, the same assets. They might polish a little bit more, but it's literally the same. Elder Scrolls and Fallout's literally, they've just been building off each other. The graphics get a little bit prettier, but the main meats of it, the bulk of it, is literally the same in every game. They may add stuff, they may take things away. Because I could remember that in Oblivion, which is the one I loved, I played Morrowind, but this was back when I was trying to, after I beat Oblivion, played Morrowind, my eyes were bleeding. Like, it was just whoa. That game aged out for me. Like it just I couldn't go back to it. But Oblivion, that was the shit. But back to there's a lot there that Xbox needs to do, and I think probably in the next 5 years, that's pretty much not real. It's not a real guess, but me basically saying, well, in the future, Xbox will have something worthwhile. But realistically, if they keep where they're going, Game Pass is going to go up. When they're actually locking down the things that they bought into exclusives, we got to really see what's next for them. Because they technically they're losing money. And everybody knows they're losing money on the purchases they made, because those games that they released for those companies, they've been kind of drying up. No one's actually really. It's not like they bought something right before it dropped and then they made a bunch of money off of it. Those companies didn't release any games. So what we know is coming out is a Valve. So the same people who made, what was it, the space game? Can't remember the shit off the top of my head. Hold on. Same people who made Outer Worlds, Obsidian, they have a Valve coming out, but I don't know. After the purchase, there really hasn't been any more news about it. So that's another thing. It's going to be a very, very iffy road with them on what their games are going to be. But once we get back to this exclusive talk and Xbox really lock down what's going on, that's when we're going to start seeing some changes. Because once Xbox recoups the money that they've spent on these companies, they probably won't even be the next 5 years, probably within the next 10 years. Because they might want to leave them multi-plat just so they can make the money, or force PlayStation's hand and be like, you need to have Game Pass if you want to play these games. Get Game Pass on PlayStation. I believe someone else was talking about this. I don't think this is an original idea, but if it is, I'm claiming it now. If they can get Game Pass on these other devices, because that probably would be the better option. Them having Game Pass on PC and being able to drop the games in there, that's great. Like if they made it so that you can't actually own the game without having an Xbox or not having it through Game Pass. Hey. And back to this whole Netflix or rentals, Gamefly type thing that they have with Game Pass. I don't really know how I feel about it. I do like to buy my games, but I've come to a point that my backlog is so fucking crazy. I don't know if this is feasible for me to continue buying games, at least day one. Don't get me wrong, I already pre-ordered Saint Row. Definitely needed that in my life. I just needed it in general. I have high hopes for that game. Hopefully they don't let me down. But this thing with Game Pass and then putting things day and date, they're going to do something with the model. They might have to just be like, hey, if you want these day and date games, you got to buy a year up front. Something to offset the cost. Or at least lock people in. And I feel like that's what someone's going to think about doing that. And that's with any of the service type, any type of those type of servers. Like Game Pass, Netflix, Hulu, all of them. At some point, they're gonna be like, "Yo, we don't want people just renting for a month to see our star-studded shows or our premium shows." They might just lock you in, like, "Hey, if you want to watch this, you buy it for the year." Now, some of the newer services, they're not even gonna, they can't even think like that. But like an HBO, when they were doing the movies every year, every month there was dropping like a brand new movie that was going in the theaters. That's something I could definitely see. I'm like, hey, if you want to watch all these movies, you gotta buy the yearly plan and just lock people in. Hopefully, I might talk and bring that into the universe. But every service that I want, I'm planning on keeping, so it's not that big of a deal for me. But that's something to think about, because these prices are gonna go up. And once it gets to a number that they know that they can get you for, you're locked in. But then they're gonna be like, once they realize the number that they can't literally, they can't charge you, they'll figure out a ways around this so they can just get the yearly price up front. Plus, boosting their subscriber numbers when it's instantly everybody buying it for the year. They might Xbox right now. I think you can only buy the 3-month plan, and then I think the 12-month plan, right? So that might change the game. Moving on, Bungie being bought by Sony. Bungie, they made Halo, but Destiny's storyline is pure shit. I don't know what the fuck is going on most of the time. I shouldn't say it's pure shit. It's nowhere good enough near Halo. Destiny's story is nowhere good enough than Halo. Like it's not even a competition. Halo's story will always beat Destiny's story. Destiny does have a lot of fun features if you're really into it. I'm really tired of this 3-person co-op shit. Like, stop doing this. Stop doing it. Why are we going from 4 people down to 3? Just stop it. That don't even make sense. That is a stupid thing to do. When the new Destiny drops, they should just have the 4 people. I'm just like, I'm really tired of this 3-person co-op shit. Same thing with Outright. It's like, yo, stop it. It just infuriates me that they still go down this line of thinking. But beside the point. Sony trying to make Destiny games, games as a service type games. Actually, they really just need multiplayer games at this point because they offer none. Now, they're known for their single player story games, yes, but you gotta have something to offer if you're charging people to play online. Like, you're actively charging people to play online, and it's like, well, if I'm playing a multiplayer, I might as well just play it on PC, which I don't have to be charged to play online because it doesn't make sense, and just go it that way. Like, what are you giving me for my money? The 2 free games? I'm gonna be honest. The 2 free games a month, or 2-3 free games a month, I can live with it or live without it. It doesn't break the bank with me. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Don't get me wrong, like, it is a bonus, but you're really charging people for the multiplayer because you think people will just buy into it. I don't think people even pay the price just for the games, just for the free games. Like, it's literally just the multiplayer is that what people want. So if you had an option, like, okay, free online, and you can pay for the 2-3 games a month, and the cloud saving that I don't really know anybody who takes advantage of. But that, I really don't think most people would even, it would be a second look. Like, hey, why the fuck would I want to play for all these games that I may or may not like, and cloud saving that no one really actually does. Like, unless you're playing the Switch PlayStations, or I guess go to a friend's house and download your save, stuff like that. Like, it's not really something I find that useful. But beside the point, Bungie, their next game has to be something with a real story. Like the Traveler, blah, blah, blah. This mystical Traveler, the Traveler's being attacked. The story for Bungie, for fucking Destiny was just so shit. And they were just putting so much shit on your HUD. And I'm like, that's cool. That's usually how fucking MMOs type shits do. Cool. But they need to clean up their UI and not put enough all that bullshit on there. Also, you should be able to lock in this. Like, if you want to play a specific story, you should be able to just lock it in and then just see what you need to do with each individual story. Now, people might say, oh, they kind of do that already. But it's so confusing with all that bullshit on your HUD. You're seeing all these things, like the weekly patrols, the daily patrols, like those things. What else do they do? Like, there's a lot of shit that there's a lot of filler bullshit that you do for like these little points so you can buy gear That's cool and everything. Whatever. That's MMO mechanics. But clearing up the HUD will be great for Destiny. But back to this purchase. They Bungie pretty much has free range in whatever the fuck they want to do within this. They're just owned by Sony, which doesn't really make sense to me, but whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, I don't know if Bungie was actually is the real thing is Bungie good enough to make a single player game anymore? Single co-op game with multiplayer anymore? Like that's the real question. Because don't get me wrong, I like the mechanics that they have in the game. There is the things that they've built, it is good. But the mechanics can be used. So like the guts of what they've done in Destiny should definitely be applied to another game, a new title, and just give it a little test. Like bring it back a little bit, give it 4-player co-op, give it a story, and make it a little bit more linear, and see how that works. Give it the multiplayer treatment, and see how that works. Like versus PvE. So, like, Destiny's story is just so bad to me. And I'm like, it's a waste. Like, I feel like their whole game is like a tech demo with just verses, which the verses is pretty fine. Like, I don't have anything against the verses. Everything else against it is like, yo, what was the point of having any of these other things? Or was it just to get you armor? Which, hey, they're not charging you for the armor. You literally just have to go do the shit to go through the hoops to actually get it. I applaud them for that. But the overall game, I don't find it fun. Like I tried to play it recently with some people, Destiny 2, try to get back into it. Because I was actually playing Destiny just for the story mode. Multiplayer, I played, it was pretty fun. It's not that, I don't have anything against that, but that's not what I wanted to play. I wanted to play the story, go through that, figure out shit, get these drops and shit like that. But then it's like a lot of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And I'm like, alright, cool. Actually, going back to what I was actually doing, rambled off again. I guess I'm just going to call this the Ramble podcast episode. But literally, Sony needs some multiplayer games. Bungie has arguably made one of the greatest multiplayer games in Halo. Destiny is literally a stepchild of Halo. Technically, they're the same creators, but whatever the case may be. But they've done something that, like I said, the building blocks in Destiny, if it was put into another game that was more streamlined, would be great. But Sony's going to be leaning on them to do games as a service type thing to keep people there for years. So, since they don't have anything under their belt now, let's say probably drop like 2 games. 2 games, say 2 games at some point, and see how this whole thing's even going to work. Because you're going to go from no multiplayer games to, I could say, one within the whole Bungie aspect, and Bungie's still gonna be making Destiny because that's their cash cow. So there's a lot there. Also, most of the content, their content's still paid, but that's enough of that. We gotta talk about Xbox Game Pass Ultimate versus PlayStation Premium. Now, there's basic tiers between the two. Is it really the whole Game Pass rival that everybody's trying to say? Looking at the breakdown, and not really. It's not really even trying to do any of that. But let's just go into it. So the basic tier is PlayStation Essential, $9 a month and $60 a year. Download your 2 to 3 PlayStation games, multiplayer access, cloud storage for all your save games, discounts on selected items in the PlayStation Store. That is basically what you're already getting for the $60 a year with PlayStation. Game Pass Console is $10 a month. Get access to all the Game Pass games And their day ones, same thing. But Xbox also had just their online service, which is Xbox Gold, which gives you multiplayer, your 2 free games. Then there's also Xbox Game Pass PC, which is also $10 and gives you access to those games. Now, I don't actually own an Xbox, so actually I do own an Xbox. I just own the new one, and I don't plan on playing any games on my Xbox anytime soon, or else the older games. I would only need Game Pass for PC to enjoy the Xbox offering and PlayStation's offering. I don't even really turn my PlayStation on, so I probably should. So I got a bunch of games to clean up that backlog, but that's just for me. The premium tier is their next one is PlayStation Extra, $15 a month or $100 a year. For $5 more, you will get access to up to 400 PS4 games and PS5 games available to download. Now, this is basically the second tier, which is only really the added PS Now. It literally just added PS Now into the system with the downloadable games, and you're only now able to actually play the PS4 and PS5 games in the tier, when before you had access to play all of them. Some people are really upset about that one because they kind of try to merge it, but they didn't merge it fully. But okay, it's whatever. Game Pass Ultimate is $180 a year. All the Game Pass games, you get access to the PC also, and you get the 2 free games, and you get multiplayer access. So yeah, it's very expensive. Game Pass is going to be very expensive just to maintain. Now, PlayStation's Premium Plus, this gives you access to all their offerings, which is PS1, PSP, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5 games that they have in the service. Their games do get pulled out a lot quicker than Xbox's games. So I think Days Gone was on there for about 2 months, 2 or 3 months, and then they pulled them out. And that's pretty much the tier list. Now, for me personally, I'm not gonna pay anything more than just to access the save games and the multiplayer. Right now, I think I'm gonna let my PlayStation Plus lapse unless I want to play a game that is added on that tier. And if I really just want to play the game, I may or may not activate PlayStation Plus for the year just to play things in my backlog. And once that's done, let's be done with PlayStation Plus altogether, because it's not really serving me in any form or fashion. Now, did PlayStation need to actually combine the two? I don't think so. I don't think it was really worth it, but it is what it is. They did, for some reason, break it into 3 different tiers for no reason, when you had access. When you bought into PlayStation Now, you had access already to what you needed. Like, you had access to all those PS1, PSP, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5 games. So you had access to those. And whenever they brought those games in, they don't bring them day to day like Xbox do, but they already had access to those. So was it really necessary to make the 3 tiers? I don't think so. I don't know anybody who would really care to even get the $120 tier, unless you're just planning to. If you're, most of his thing, these services, they're probably great for little kids and streamers, people who wants to go through a bunch of games very quickly, people who want to stream games. Like, this makes sense for little kids, parents with little kids who just like, hey, I pay you this amount of money, I don't need to worry about buying any more games because Xbox will handle the rest of the shit. You get the 2 free games a month, You get the play online. You get anything that's in the Game Pass library, and if they're newer to gaming, there's a lot there that people haven't played. But realistically, how many people is actually going back to play some of these older games? Um, that's a real good question because it's like I had Game Pass. Actually, I bought all the Xbox original games that I felt like I needed to. I bought all of Gears. I bought all of Halo. I bought Sunset Overdrive. So like I bought the games that I deemed that I wanted to own. Like Game Pass, I could have just bought Game Pass and just been playing it off there, but I bought to own them. So I was like, hey, these ones right here, I want myself. Like I don't care about the service. When the service drops up, I may or may not resubscribe. That's cool. But I bought these games that I felt the value enough that in these games it was worth it to own them. Now I might not even play these games as frequent or as much as I like to, like Gears 5. So I'm still trying to go through and beat that. The multiplayer, haven't been really heavy in the multiplayer, which I need to get into. But gaming's been dying down a little bit for me currently, so I'm not playing a lot of games. Story wise, I think the only game I'm trying to finish right now is Scarlet Nexus, and that is in Game Pass. Greatest in Game Pass because I am playing through it. Hopefully they don't take it out of Game Pass until I finish the game because I don't know if I would buy it afterwards. And it's literally it's doing enough for me to be like this is clearly the right move, and I like it. I like it enough to continue playing it. I feel like I booted up, pick 1 or 2 hours, and I'm done gaming for a bit. I take a little break, watch some TV, go do something else. May even watch some anime that I'm in a backlog of anime also. But yeah, the tier services, that's just the new wave. Sony's way, I feel like is more substantial in the fact that it's gonna make them constant level of money, and I don't think they're gonna up their price. Now, I'm not 100% sure they're not gonna up their price, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, you guys don't offer enough to be like your price should go up at any point in time. So, but like I said, they're gonna figure out a way to up the price on all these services for some reason or another. Right now, Game Pass is at a certain number, but it's gonna have to raise raise the price every year. They're going to have to. But $180 a year? Man. $120 a year. Okay, that one almost 200. These numbers are gonna change, and Xbox got to figure out what the number is that people will not pay. And once they figure that number out, it's gonna be different. Because they're going to have to make it a new tier. They're going to have to make a new tier that's going to be more expensive for all the other offerings. But that's about it.